was a king. He was wise and clever, and he had a daughter who was loving and kind and beautiful. The palace artist took her likeness and sent it out across the globe, and young men would buy this likeness and they would fall in love. And they all wanted to be her husband. And when the time came, her father went to her. "Daughter," he said, "it's time for you to marry. Who would you like to be your husband?" And the daughter thought about this. There was one, once, but he had long since gone, and she feared he was dead. "I don't know, father. Somebody wise and clever like you." "Very well," said the king. Now the king loved riddles, and so he devised one for all the would-be suitors to find out how wise and clever they were. And when the young boys around the world heard the news, they were so excited. They put on their best clothes, they brushed back their hair, they got out their steeds, and they rode to the palace. And when they got there, they found a queue, a big long queue that came from the throne room all the way out of the palace, around the palace, into the kingdom, all the way around the kingdom and back again. They had to queue for 3 whole days, but they didn't mind, because the princess was worth it. When they got to the front of the queue and they got to the throne room, they were faced with the king. And there he had 3 dolls. "Which of you can tell me the difference between these 3 dolls?" Well, the scientists measured the dolls. They did tests on the dolls. They weighed them, but they could find no difference. The poets wrote sonnets about them. The businessmen tried to buy their way to the answer, but it didn't work. And one by one that queue dwindled until there was very few left. The princess had started to lose hope that she would ever find a wise and clever husband. And then the door to the throne room opened, and in came a traveller. His clothes were dusty, his hair was matted, but the princess found herself looking closely at his face. It seemed familiar. He looked at the 3 dolls, and then he plucked a golden hair from his head. He picked up the first doll and threaded the hair in through its ear. It went in one ear and out the other. "This doll," he said, "this doll is a fool. Everything it hears goes out the other side." He picked up the second doll, plucked another hair from his head, and put it in through the ear. It kept going, and it kept going, and it kept going, until it all disappeared inside the doll. "This doll," he said, "this doll is thoughtful. It listens well." And then he picked up the third doll, took a golden hair from his head, and started to thread it in through the ear. It went in, and then it started to come out of the doll's mouth, all curly. "Ah," he said, "this doll is a storyteller. Everything it hears it repeats with its own twist." "Very good," said the king. "You may ask my daughter for her hand in marriage." The young man brushed himself off, smoothed down his hair, went on to one knee and looked up at her. And when she saw his eyes, she knew that was her long-lost love, the man she had given up for dead. "May I?" he said. "You may," she said, and fell into his arms. And the 2 of them got married, and they lived happily ever